People, I hope you are doing great. We are going to get into this little friend right here today, the quadratic formula. So, good news, quadratic formula, guys, will solve, just like completing the square, we'll always be able to use the quadratic. So, again, why would we want to use this over completing the square? Well, it might be a smidge easier, right, for some of us than completing the square, right? Remember, we have all of our other ways. So we have graphing, if it's appropriate, right, if we're not going to get a bad number. What else do we have? We have factoring, we have square roots, we have completing the square, and now we have our fifth method, right? Why do we have so many methods? Well, here's the deal, guys. Some of them are easier than others, and some of them, like factoring, works way faster than as you will see, doing the quadratic. Here, let me back up real quick. So, guys, here's this quadratic formula. So if you need this, write this down, commit this to memory, right? X equals the opposite of b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac. That's all inside of a square root, and we divide the whole thing by 2a. Now, what are these a's and b's and c's coming from? Like, what are these? Guys, simply put, a, b, and c, right? When we have our normal standard form, which we've been talking about forever, a and b, just the coefficients, right, with those two variables, our quadratic variable and our linear variable, and then c is just our constant, okay? As with anything, guys, if you're going to use a formula, write it down, right? So here's what I would like to see. So x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so if we're going to use a formula, let's write it down. And then what I like to do over here is just say a, b, and c. Okay, and usually I'll put an equal sign. That way I can figure out what number who is who. So what value should a be? Well, a is the coefficient here, 1. What about b? Be careful, watch your sign. That's a -2. C. Now in this case, guys, here's one thing. Should have done this earlier. We need to have our quadratic equation in standard form, meaning all three terms need to be together equals 0 on the other side. So if you think about that, means this guy's got to move over here. So we would do that with subtraction. So it would just turn into a minus 35, or in this case, a negative 35 is going to be our C value. Okay? All right, from here we plug everything in, and we should be home free. All right? So it should look like this. X equals, now the opposite of B. Again, some people say negative b, but look, b is already negative, so that can create confusion for some of us. So I want the opposite of this number, 2, plus or minus b squared, right? If you want to simplify a little bit of this as you go along, that's okay, because be careful, guys. -2 squared is really what? 4. Minus 4 times a times c. So 4, okay, times a, which is 1, times c, which is -35. Make that go there. And this is all over 2a, or 2 times 1. Okay? So it's going to look like that. Now, we have to be very, very, very careful with this calculation right here. We have a fancy name for this. We'll learn about that towards the end of today. All right, so I just like to leave the minus sign there, as opposed to making it -4, because again, that sometimes creates confusion for some of us. So 4 times 1 times -35. So that should be what, 120 and another 140. So it should be -140, okay? All right. So -140 is what all of that turned into. Okay. Of course, we know 2 times 1, guys. This is just going to be 2. All right. 4 minus a negative, right, really means plus. So, right, all of this is going to turn into x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 144 all over 2. Bam. Okay? From here, we're good to go. All right? We can go ahead, if you want to break out into your 2 answers from here, again, think about it. When we had square roots, we had 2 answers, right? When we see graphing, sometimes we can have 2 answers. I'm going to get my 2 answers from this plus or minus right here. Okay? So let's go ahead and simplify this, right? So let me write this up here. So first one is going to be x equals 2 plus, what's the square root of 144? Well, that's really the number 12. 2 plus 12 divided by 2. My other one's going to be 2 minus 12 divided by 2. I'm going to keep simplifying here. 14 divided by 2 makes this a 7. That makes this negative 10, which would make this negative 5. There's your two answers. Okay? Put them in curly brackets. Do whatever you want, guys. There's the quadratic formula. Take a good look at it. Again, be very, very careful right here. Be careful with this one. Okay? Good news. We're going to do about 982 more of these. Not really. Okay. A, B, and C. Identify their numbers. Okay. 1, negative 30. You guys good with that? 1, negative 30. Okay. So, x equals opposite of b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. Good to go. Okay. Negative 1 plus or minus b squared, guys. That's just going to be 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1 times c, which is negative 30, all over 2a. Okay. Again, I'll simplify a little bit of this in here. So 1 squared, of course, we know that's just 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times that is negative 120. So this is all going to turn into negative 120 again. So this is going to be 1 minus negative 120. Okay, of course, this is just going to turn into 2. All right, and we're getting closer. X equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 121 over 2. Okay. Again, we're getting nice perfect squares here. I want to be clear. This isn't always going to happen. And when that does it, we will get into some decimal approximations, okay? X equals negative 1 minus 11 divided by 2, okay? So here we go. Negative 1 plus 11, 10. That should turn into a 5. This should turn into a negative 6, okay? Perfect. All right. Moving on. Very good. Ooh, you guys see it? I see it. It says round to the nearest tenth. So I'm assuming we're going to get bad. So this is where like graphing, factoring, this is where these probably aren't going to work. Okay? All right, anyway, here we go. A, B, and C, find those values first. Okay, again, you'll notice I put an equal sign here because if you just put like A and then a dash, that sometimes looks like a negative sign. So don't do that. A is 2, B is negative 2, C is negative 5. If you want to try to write quadratic, go ahead. X equals the opposite of B plus or minus B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Okay, remember, if you're going to use the formula, guys, especially one like this, it definitely is helpful to write it out as opposed to you just trying to remember it and write in the numbers where you think they go. All right, so the opposite of B, going to be positive 2. Okay? Plus or minus that square root, so b squared. So this is going to be negative 2 squared. I'm just going to put a 4 there. 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 5, all over 2a. Okay. All right, let's clean this up a bit here. 2a, 2 times 2, that should turn into a number 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times negative 5. 8 times negative 5, negative 40 there. Somebody yell at me if that's not right. Negative 40. Okay, and now we can go ahead simplify this. So x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of, I believe, the number 44 all over 4. Okay. No, guys, we're not allowed to simplify these numbers and treat them like we are a fraction. Right? Because remember, we're adding this number, we're subtracting that number to it, and then we're going to divide. So I know some of us might like to go, oh yeah, can I make that a 1 and a 2? Probably not a great idea. Okay. All right, so I'm definitely going to need a calculator for this. Again, it says round to the nearest tenth if necessary, okay? So my first one, x equals literally 2 plus the square root of 44 divided by 4. All right, I'll put a little squiggly equal sign here. Okay, so 2 plus square root 44, and then I'm going to divide that by 4. So guys, I get let's go 2.2. Okay, you guys good with that? There's what I got right there. Next one. X is going to be equal to 2 minus that square root of 44, all divided by 4. So 2 minus square root of 44. And then we're going to divide by the number 4. And here I get negative 1.2. Okay. There you go. All done. All right. So this is where the quadratic, super useful for us, folks, right? When we don't get great numbers. Okay. Again, completing the square is a great option here, but look, guys, we would try to divide everybody by 5. Again, that's where completing the square kind of falls down on its face, right? If all these numbers aren't divisible by 5, again, can you still use it? Absolutely. Do you get really bad numbers? Yeah, you do. Okay. So again, that's why quadratic turns into a better choice. Remember, we need to move this over here first. So 5x squared minus 8x minus 4 equals 0. It has to look like this before I identify my A, B, and C values. So A is 5, B is negative 8, C is negative 4. Okay? X equals the opposite of B, plus or minus. Look, you're going to get really good at writing this out all over to A. Okay? All right, opposite of B is 8. Plus or minus B squared, right? Most of us can square these numbers in our head. This will turn into 64 minus 4 times A, which is 5, times C, which is negative 4, all over 2 times A. Okay, let's do some simplifying here real quick. This is going to turn into 10. 4 times 5 times negative 4. So 4 times 5, 20. 20 times negative 4 is negative 80. Okay, so negative 80. We can add these two together. So let's go x equals 8 plus or minus the square root of, that is 144. Is that true? I feel like it should be true. Right? Yeah, I believe that's good. Okay. All right, so here we go. X is equal to 8 plus 12 divided by 10. So that's 20. 20 divided by 10 is 2. This is going to be equal to 8 minus 12 divided by 10. That's negative 4. So you could say negative 2/5, right? Or negative 0.4. Good deal? Great deal, guys. Bad news, we're not even halfway through today. Ooh. Okay, let's see. Again, guys, just more quadratic, round to the nearest 10th. Again, these ones are not going to be good numbers. You want to do one more? I feel like it's just repetitive at this point. Okay, so let's get into some of our different methods that we use, okay? Yeah, we can look at this one. All right, so 3x squared minus 5x, right? Normally we're thinking, hey, bring this over here. Now it might be beneficial for us just to spend, right? I mean, the quadratic takes a little bit of time. It might be beneficial for us just to spend a quick minute here going, hey, I wonder if we could factor. Because guys, that's honestly probably the first place that I would look. Because factoring, look, I could come up with my two factors. It's equal to 0. We can go 0 product property. We're out of here in a minute, okay? So I might go, okay, hey, negative 36. So are there factors of negative 36 that, right, which again would be a positive and a negative, that would then add up to negative 5. So, you know, obviously the bigger number is going to be the negative one. So like we could have negative 36 and positive 1. We could have negative 18 and positive 2. We could have negative, 12? Positive 3. We could have negative, 9 and positive 4. Okay. So that didn't take very long. Now again, I know some of you knew that. I knew it was 9 and 4 all along, guys. So yeah, we could quickly go, hey, 3x squared minus 9x plus 4x minus 12 equals 0. And then we can group these, right? And we can do what we've been doing for a long time, which is, hey, this is going to be 3x. This is going to turn into x minus 3. This is going to be a 4. This will also then turn into x minus 3. Okay, so my two binomials, guys, are 3x plus 4 and x minus 3. Okay, and then set each one of those, that looks like a y, sorry about that. And then, guys, 0, hey, can you be an eraser? And then 0 product property. Take each one of those expressions, set it equal to 0, and solve for the variable. Okay, x minus 3 equals 0. So this is going to turn into x equals 4/3. This will turn into x equals 3. Okay, I want to be clear. We would have got the same answers, right, had we completed the square. Had we, now graphing going to be a little bit different, right? Graphing, you're going to get 3. Desmos might try to round that last, no it won't, that last 3 would still be okay. But we have to write the answer in the right way. If we did quadratic, we would have got the same stuff, okay? So again, depending upon how comfortable you are, guys, oh, look at here. Here's all of our different methods that we can do, right? Factoring, graphing, square rooting, completing the square, and quadratic, okay? Again, yeah, there's some helpful hints on when to use them, right? Solve this one any way you would like to. Well, I'd like to complete the square because honestly, it's probably my favorite one, but not a great choice because I got a 6 here, and we'd have to deal with that somehow. So not good there, right? 6x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. So real quickly, again, I go right to factoring and say, hey, negative 12, we want to add up to a positive 1. So 4 and 3 seem to be like a good choice for me there, okay? So 6x squared, I'm going to put the 3 over here. So I'm going to go minus 3x and then plus 4x minus 2. I'm going to group everybody because that's what we do with 4 terms. So I'm going to factor out a 3x, and this will turn into, not x, apologize, 2x minus 1. Factor out a 2 here. That'll turn into, gosh, 2x minus 1. All right, so 2x minus 1 and 3x plus 2. All right, and solve those expressions now. So 2x minus 1 equals 0. So x is going to be equal to 1/2. And then 3x plus 2 equals 0. So x is equal to negative 2/3. Again, let's be clear. All of our methods will work. I feel like that one was pretty good for us there. Okay, very last part of today, all right, is the part inside the square root. We have a special name for, so we're back into the quadratic, guys. We call the part inside the square root the discriminant. And basically, if we think about what happens is that will turn into a number, that discriminant, right? The part that's inside the square root, b squared minus 4ac, that turns into a number, okay? Well, that number will tell me how many solutions we're going to get. Because remember, one of 3 things can happen. We can get 2 answers, we can get 1 answer, or we can get no answers, okay? But remember, if it doesn't cross the x-axis, we're not getting an answer. If it just touches the x-axis in one spot, we're going to get 1 answer. And then here, if it goes through however many times, in this case twice, we're going to get 2 answers. Well, somebody smarter than me figured out that, hey, if you just look at what kind of number is inside the square root, the discriminant, that'll tell you all you want to know about how many answers you're going to get. If you get any positive number for the discriminant, you will get 2 answers, okay? If it actually turns into the number 0, like we had the square root of 0, you're just going to get 1 answer, which kind of makes sense. And if there's a negative number inside the square root, which again, this makes sense, can we take the square root of a negative number? Can you take the square root of negative 100? Try it in your calculator if you don't believe me. You can, okay? So if it's a negative number, you're not going to have any real solutions. Okay? Great. So let's see this in action, guys. All we're going to do, sometimes they're just going to ask us questions like, hey, how many solutions would this equation have? We don't even have to find them. How great is that? Okay? So here we go. So 3x squared. Again, do what we've always done, right? Move everybody to one side. Identify A and B. Again, we're not going to use C here, but we can. So A is 3, B is 10, C is negative 12. Okay, so x equals opposite of b, plus or minus b squared minus 4ac. I apologize, we are going to use c, all over 2a. All right, so there's our quadratic. Now, we're only focused, guys, on this part right here, okay? And really, I don't even care about the square root. B squared minus 4ac is all we're after for the discriminant, all right? So b squared, this is going to be 10 squared minus 4 times a times c. Okay, again, be careful with these calculations, okay? This is going to turn into 100. This is going to turn into what? 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times negative is negative 144. What kind of number are we going to get here? We're going to get a positive number, 244, if my mental math is correct. And a positive number means what, guys? That's right, it means 2 answers. Okay? Good to go. There you go. State the value of the value of the discriminant, guys, that's the number we just find. Determine the number of solutions. Good to go. This one's already lined up for me. So A is 1, B is 2, C is also 2. Okay? Remember, we're looking at B squared minus 4AC. Okay? So B squared is 2 squared minus 4 times A times C. Again, we know 2 squared is going to turn into the number 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So this all turns into 8. Aha. Negative 4 is the value of the discriminant. And what does any negative number mean? Any negative number means no solutions. Because if we think about what happens, guys, eventually we're going to want to take the square root of this number. And we can't do that. Okay? So there you go. So there's our last thing. We ended with something nice there. That's called the discriminant. We'll see some nice, easy questions from time to time, just about, the more we can understand a formula, probably the better we're going to use it. So sorry it took so long. You guys were a great audience. Take care. I'll see you soon.